Good day, everyone. I would just like to introduce myself first. I am Trisha Kane Manalo Mystica, a student of Pangasinan State University in Fanta Campus, Philippines. Our university is located at Barangay Bamban in Fanta, Pangasinan, Philippines. And if we are going to base on the Google Map address, it is RXB4 plus J76 in Fanta, Pangasinan, Philippines. Today I am going to discuss and present to you our research entitled Assessment on Pedagogical Competence Readiness of Pre-Service Teachers. But before proceeding with my defense or with my presentation, first I would like to give thanks to my co-authors, Ma'am Ansharina P. Garcia and Ma'am Kimberly Ann G. Ebelte, for I believe that this research would not be possible without them. The pre-service training program is carefully assessed to make students know and have the sense of experience right before stepping into the field of teaching. It is proven that pre-service training programs affect teachers' effectiveness, practices, and career commitment. So with this concern, we the researchers assess or have the study about the pedagogical competence readiness of the pre-service teachers of Pangasinan State University, Philippines, which is believed to be very efficient in creating victory upon producing competent teachers in the future. We believe that assessing the pre-service teachers earlier would let them realize how it to become competent is. This would help them realize and assess themselves, further leading to enhancement. So teachers are known to have one of the fearless jobs in this world. Continuous learning to educate learners with different personalities is not easy. The responsibilities that were on the top of the head of the teacher seem huge because they have to teach learners well for them to be able to have that knowledge and great opportunities in their days to come. Being a teacher, you should be a competent professional with in-depth knowledge of teaching best practices and legal educational processes. In addition to having excellent written or verbal communication processes skills, our ideal candidate will also demonstrate outstanding presentation and interpersonal skills. So teachers' competency is defined as the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are necessary to be able to perform the teaching profession effectively and efficiently. The qualities that I have said a while ago or on my previous statement are also the qualities that pre-service teachers should have. The competence of teachers is essential, especially in the current, because we all know that the demand for teachers is becoming high because everything is continuously changing. So teachers need to be competent since they are the most powerful. Okay? They are believed to be the most powerful in transforming and influencing students. So in connection with all the competencies the teacher should possess are also for the pre-service teachers or the students that are currently taking up the course of teaching. A climacteric part of being a pre-service teacher is when they have to take the training or what so-called practice teaching is. So this is a requirement for every pre-service teacher that will help them in becoming effective teachers someday. So the teaching practice or the teaching practice program allows every student to apply the competencies they have and enhance them. It is a stage that student teachers are trained and exposed to the real classroom teaching for them to become prepared and qualified teachers in the country. So in the Philippine context, all teacher education curriculum in all higher education institution included practicum teaching as one of the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Secondary Education or the BSED and Bachelor of Elementary Education or the BEd and for some degrees of the Bachelor of Arts or the BA programs. Pangasinan State University is one of the college schools that ensures pre-service teachers are assessed carefully in their practice teaching. One of the mission of this university is to create globally competent individuals, and through conducting practice teaching, the mission will be possible. Thus, we conducted this study to assess the pedagogical competence readiness of pre-service teachers of Pangasinan State University in Fanta, Philippines. It serves as an assessment for the student to check themselves upon their readiness before getting into the field of practice teaching. Since teachers are expected to have pedagogical competence to influence the learners effectively, they should possess variety of competencies. The competencies that a teacher should possess includes instructional designing, instructional delivery, knowledge competence, and teacher's personality. These four terms was defined accordingly to their purpose in the study. So for the instructional designing, this refers to the creation of learning experiences and materials and manner those results in the acquisition of application of knowledge and skills. For the instructional delivery, it refers with the interaction among the students, the teachers, the content and knowledge, skills disposition students will need for learning and collaborating with others in a diverse society and rapidly changing world. So this is our theoretical framework. Basically, this research is anchored with two main theories, which are the law of readiness by Edward Thorndike and the constructivism theory by John Dewey. For the law of readiness, we always give preparatory works, preparatory activities to give ample time for the students to enhance his or her answers or skills prior to the field involvement. On the other hand, for constructivism, a student practice or learn from her or her own physical environment, knowledge is constructed through their experiences. So thus having an active learning process which enhances their skills and attitudes as well. Therefore, this theoretical framework would flow as the law of readiness and constructivism. For the law of readiness framework, activities and preparatory sets, then for constructivism, constructed knowledge through experience, by then this would be successful and we would have a competent pre-service teachers. For the methods of the study, since the purpose of the study that we have conducted is to know the pedagogical competence readiness of pre-service teachers in terms of instructional designing, instructional delivery, knowledge competence, and teacher's personality. So as a result, we have used quantitative descriptive research design. We believe that this design aids the researcher or us in compiling a summary of the information that we have gathered. It has also summarized the information provided by our respondents in the study. In gathering the data from the respondents due to pandemic, we just use online survey questionnaire with the use of Google Form. There was a set of questionnaire being sent with to the respondents of Pangasinan State University in Fanta, Pangasinan. For our research instrument used in the study, we have constructed our own research questions or questionnaire, and this was validated by research experts. Rest assured that it was being validated in a proper way, and it was being validated by the experts in research. Okay, for the treatment of data. So in determining the respondent's pedagogical competence readiness across instructional designing, instructional delivery, knowledge competence, and teacher's personality, the responses of our respondents were analyzed and managed using weighted mean and mean in evaluating respondents' pedagogical competence readiness. So from the scale 5 to 4.21, the description would be very competent. The interpretation is, this show excellent readiness competence in pedagogical competence. For the scale 4.20 to 3.41, the description would be almost competent. This shows being great readiness, yet not totally competent in pedagogical competence. From the scale 3.40 to 2.61, the description would be somewhat competent. This shows somewhat readiness and competent in only some of the pedagogical competence. From the scale 2.60 to 1.81, the description would be slightly competent. This shows a very little readiness and competent in pedagogical competence. And for the last scale, from 1.80 to 1, the description is not competent, or this is interpreted as no readiness and not at all competent in pedagogical competence. Okay, for the results and discussion, for the table 2.1 entitled Pedagogical Competence Readiness of the Respondents in the Instructional Designing. The table shows the result of pre-service teachers' response in terms of their readiness on the instructional designing. So the entire competencies under this resulted with high means. The pre-service teachers' respondent shows a great extent of competence and readiness in terms of making well-planned lesson plan, utilization of ICT in the teaching and learning process, aligning outcomes with the learning competencies, designing and planning assessment. For the table 2.2 entitled Pedagogical Competence Readiness of the Respondents in the Instructional Delivery. So, instructional delivery refers to the interaction among the student, the teacher, the content, and the knowledge skills disposition students will need for learning and collaborating with others in a diverse society and rapidly changing world. The table indicates the respondents' responses to teaching and mastering the subject matter. The mean of 3.45 implies that they were almost competent. The respondents demonstrated that they were almost competent also in terms of providing well-designed and planned instruction because it has 3.47 mean, which is interpreted as almost competent. In terms of using ICT positively, the respondents are almost competent because the mean is 3.47. And instructing that deals with adequate opportunities for successful acquisition and in applying a range of instructional strategies to connect and interact with learners around academic content, the respondent shows that in this question they were almost competent because the result of the mean in giving instruction adequate opportunities was 3.43. On the mean result of applying range of instructional strategies 3.45, and it belongs to almost competent also. For the table 2.3, entitled Pedagogical Competence Readiness of the Respondents in the Knowledge Competence. So in the definition of terms from our research, it is stated that the knowledge competence refers to the practical or theoretical understanding of a subject. The three statements of competencies in knowledge competence are applying knowledge of subject matter content, applying knowledge of pedagogical principles and strategies, and the applying knowledge of educational context. So, based on our table of interpretation, they were almost competent in terms of applying knowledge of subject matter content, which has a mean of 3.42. Applying knowledge of pedagogical principles and strategies, and applying knowledge of educational context, which had a mean of 3.43. While the last competency in the table is almost competent based on our interpretation table in terms of incorporating knowledge of educational goals, purposes, and values, which has a mean of 4.90 interpreted as almost competent. So in the table 2.4, It is about the pedagogical competence readiness of the respondents in terms of teachers' personality. So in the teacher's personality, the mean of different competencies under it was interpreted as almost competent. The results of the mean are 3.46, 3.74, 3.74, and 3.61 are included in the table of interpretation as almost competent. It is somehow a good result on the part that the respondents are great in communication, handling challenges, and as well as being someone who can execute love for the learners. For the last table, it is about the pedagogical competence readiness of the respondents in the instructional designing, instructional delivery, knowledge competence, and teacher's personality. So this is the weighted mean and the overall weighted mean of the 4 competencies. So the respondents from Pangasinan State University Infanta campus are almost competent in instructional designing. This means that the students can develop the lesson plan using learning resources including ICT or can align objectives to the learning competencies, but they still need to enhance their knowledge in instructional designing. Likewise, the respondents are fairly knowledgeable on designing and planning assessment tasks and to measure what the learners know and can do, and creating instructional materials that would suit the learning process and the needs of the learners. However, the results that they still need to enhance their competence. The result is somehow expected because the respondents had already taken up their professional education subjects in the past years, and also the different webinars and activities given by the university with the inclusion of the field study activities. The overall weighted mean of the pedagogical competence readiness shows that they are almost competent or shows great readiness. This means that the respondents, although still needs enhancement with different pedagogical competencies included in the study. For our conclusion, the study concludes that the level of pedagogical competence of the pre-service teachers enrolled with Bachelor of Elementary Education and Bachelor of Secondary Education at Pangasinan State University and Infanta campus across the 4 pedagogical competencies in the study shows that they were almost competent. The respondents can execute great pedagogical competence readiness, instructional designing, instructional delivery, knowledge competence, and teachers' personality. But this result should be enhanced, or it should be resulted from months from now to very or highly competent. That would be all. Thank you for listening. Again, my name is Tershikain Manalo Mystica, a student from Pangasinan State University Infanta campus.